Yo, what's going on, everyone? Jay here, and today we are breaking down Port Antonio. J. Cole just released this track last night on his Instagram. I don't think, maybe we'll get it on streaming, maybe not. We'll see what happens. First of all, let's just say, I love this track. This is a fucking amazing track. I'm having the bad hair day right now, as you guys can see, got the hat hair going, but we're also ripping the Rangers because, you know. Big win last night as of the night that I'm recording this. 6-0 against the Pens to start the season. You love to see it. You love to see it. But anyways, another big win last night was Port Antonio coming out. And this was a win for Cole, as a lot of people think he's been on a losing streak this year. Some people don't really like Might Delete Later that much. Personally, I thought it was a good album. I got my review on this channel. Go check it out if you want to see my thoughts. You know what I'm saying? But also, he backed out of the beef. And a lot of people, including me, was kind of like mixed bag about it. A lot of people were clowning on him. I didn't say he was wrong for it, but it's hard for him to make his case to be the greatest rapper and back out of the greatest rap beef of all time. That's how I viewed it, at least. But this song contextualizes that, and it honestly very much changed my opinion on that. Personally, at least. I think Cole's got a lot of good reason for not wanting to get involved, at least where he's at in his life, right? So we're going to go through the lyrics here. I'm going to talk about some of my favorite bars. I'm also just going to, I'm going to give you my analytical perspective, let you know what I think Cole is trying to say here. But yeah, Port Antonio, this is produced by DZL, Omen, and J. Cole. And off rip, I love this instrumental. Just as a whole, I love the light boom bap drums in the background. I love the Dead Presidents 2 piano keys. Of course, Dead Presidents 2 by Jay-Z is a classic track, and the piano keys are very often used. It's not the same exact, I think it's an interpolation on the keys, but I do think it's very good. And I also enjoy the kids that are sampled, you know what I mean, that are saying whatever they're saying. Here's the genius about the synopsis of Port Antonio. Alright, so they say that this song appears to address Cole's perspectives and beliefs, looking upon the infamous feud shared between Drake and Kendrick Lamar earlier in 2024. Yes, I think this is kind of like, I would call this an epilogue and an explanation. This is an epilogue from J. Cole's perspective, as well as an explanation. Well, also just wrapped into a really good song, right? It also says, the song opens to a pitch sample of the live version of Cleo's Soul's Know That You Are Loved. Okay, it's not Kids, I was wrong on that. With the instrumental being notably reminiscent of the Jay-Z song Dead Presidents 2, a song Cole had renditioned previously on his sophomore mixtape, The Warm Up. So I'm not too far off on that, but I was wrong about the sample. Anyways, I do like that sample, but I also like the refrain and just the energy of this song as a whole. You know, that kind of ride to it that Cole's got coming on. He's just stunting on this track. It's kind of, when he does that, it almost makes me think that he's doing this track lightly, with ease, even though this is very much a calculated track. There's, you know what I mean? This wasn't freestyled, I don't think, at least, but this was made with intention. And then you got the chorus, y'all ain't stopping me, y'all ain't stopping me, y'all ain't stopping me. And that's kind of what this song is about. Again, it is a explanation. It is an epilogue. And it is Cole still proclaiming himself to be the best rapper, just like he did all across the offseason, right? He's still saying that he's the greatest out. Respectfully. Alright, let's rip it. Verse 1. Young Jermaine walked the straight and narrow. Minimum wage jobs for dinero, but my mind was on the zeros. I fiend for the perks that was seen flipping birds, so we was skipping church, but my eyes was on the sparrows. People flipping pies, spending thousands on apparel. Shit, I just want to shine too. I just want my dimes too. So, another thing that's important about Port Antonio. J. Cole's giving you about his backstory as a rapper, right? He gives you his journey from young kid who just wanted to be, essentially he just wanted to be cool and he wanted to be rich, right? And he wanted all the perks of being a rapper, of being successful, right? That's what he says. I fiend for the perks. He doesn't mean Percocets. He fiends for the ability to be able to spend thousands on apparel. And this first verse is going to take us kind of throughout young Cole, that super hunger, super tenacious mindset that Cole is known for, right? And his journey into becoming the greatest rapper, because he talks about that in the next stanza, I guess. And these next set of bars are some of my favorites from Cole. I'm going to say that a couple of times throughout this video, but jealous people want to know how my rhymes blew. Mano a mano, I'm Bono, I'm you times two, which is just a great lyric because, of course, Bono is the lead singer of U2, the band U2. So cool rhymes on there, plus cool entendres. Now I'm bougie, I done outgrew the fountain blue. But never forgot the spot where I developed my plot. The dwell in the top, the ville where all my skeletons locked. If I could do it all over, then I would never swap. I've seen good, I've seen bad, had my melanin mocked. I've seen lifelong friends turn to devilish ops. Cole's talking about his upbringing. He's talking about getting made fun of for his lighter skin tone, right? Talking about having his racial integrity questioned, being made fun of for this type of thing, right? Which was kind of dominant. Not dominant. It was a part of the Kendrick and Drake beef, which is why it's important that Cole is bringing it up here, because Kendrick mocks Drake for being light-skinned and for all these things, right? Saying he's not fully part of the black community. Now, again, I'm just a white guy from the burbs. You know what I mean? I'm not here to dictate or say this or that and say who's saying what. I'm just reading the lyrics and giving you my analysis. And why I think it's important that Cole is saying this, because he's saying it's an issue that people go through and it's not just subjective. Maybe he's saying that Kendrick shouldn't have said that, but he's saying that he's had this problem and he is someone who is, a hip-hop purist. He's someone who is definitely part of the culture, has never been accused of being a culture vulture, all that, right? I was miking Red Leather trying to tell him to stop. You better beat it before you see the heavy metal get popped. He was a mean-ass wing with a hell of a shot. But if no team draft king, he gon' bet on the block. Here we got, again, just some great wordplay. Michael Jackson reference because he wore the red leather. Trying to tell him to stop. You get to beat it before your heavy metal gets popped. Important, again, to note here. This is all my interpretation, all my personal analysis from my perspective. And a lot of this stuff, especially going back to the having my melanin mocked bar, I can't properly contextualize a lot of this stuff. I'm just giving you my best read of it. But again, with that being said, he's talking about being a mean-ass wing with a hell of a shot. But if no team draft king, he gonna bet the block. Now, in this, scenario, the king is Cole, DraftKings sports betting website. He gonna bet the block. Sports betting reference. Did not expect that in a J. Cole song. Not on the 2024 bingo card, right? He want to ball till he fall or till the Federals knock and sit his ass on a bench for moving careless with rock. You can't relate unless your father was not around and your mother went out and found someone else and then got him brought around. And throughout the rest of verse 1, Cole is kind of talking about his upbringing, talking about the trials and tribulations that he went through between his parents not always being around, between him living in poverty. Also talking about how his family moved out of the super rough area they were in, and then he lost his confidence going back, right? It brought down his confidence. It knocked his ego a little bit, maybe. I think this is an interesting thing that he's talking about here, right? Again, something that me, being the person I am, I can't speak to this, right? This is a perspective that I can't give, that I can't contextualize, that I can't explain in any type of profound way. You know what I mean? Go check someone else's analysis, I'm sure. Shout out to the company man, Justin Hunt. I watched his analysis of this song. He doesn't directly touch on this, but he is someone who would be able to acknowledge his perspective better than I could. But yeah, so after verse 1, we kind of got this image of Cole where he's still touting that he's the best right now, right? He's talking about his rap prowess right now, but also talking about a lot of the stuff he had to go through to get there. Not always feeling as confident as he is now, between growing up in poverty, between growing up in this bad area, right? But he, again, as this track would suggest, he has this tenacity, this hunger to prove he's the best, this tenacity, this hunger to get out. Moving on to verse 2, we get the chorus, we get the pre-chorus again. Benjamin Button, Cole flows, reverse time. To find deliveries good as mine, you gotta search primes. I'm scaling heights higher than birds can perch, trying to be something, hoping that peace comes to my cursed mind. Cole rapping about being the best, again, to start this off, right? Which is fine. I love when rappers rap about being the best rapper. It's what a lot of rappers rap about, and it's a good topic when you have good bars to do so. One thing's for sure that I've matured from my first rhyme. I learned long ago, you can't please them all and it hurts trying. This is important because a lot of this track is kind of about maturity, because it's about the journey that Cole has been on the rap game. Him explaining why he backed out of the beef, essentially. All of this is him contextualizing it, him reiterating his backstory, him talking about some of the stuff he had to go through, some of the mockery, some of the struggles that he had in his life, right? Because this is all important to why he backed out of the beef, to why he is the person he is today. And saying, I learned long ago you can't please them all and it hurts trying, speaks a lot to Cole. This speaks a lot to Cole's story, because he did spend a lot of time in his career trying to please everyone. He honestly really did. If you go back and look at essentially all of his albums other than the off season, there is some quality, there is some track, some moment where Cole's reaching out to all these different groups of people, all these different, you know what I mean? He's trying to expand his reach as far as possible and has previously explained his frustration in music of not being the most respected or of not being the most revered or of not, you know what I mean? He's explained this and that and how it makes him feel. And here he's admitting you can't please everyone. And that's a part of music. You just got to do the best you can. Absurd time where the fake gets toted is wise. I can see the hate in both of your eyes, but the third's blind. So you search lines. But the struggle, which explains the puzzled look on the dull face as the word finds. I hate what rappers come to, but like do not disturb signs. Can't knock it if I see it's about the dough. They investigate the fuckery because it's profitable. But singing stop the violence tunes when dudes in hospitals. A lot being said here. This is Cole's real first commentary on Drake versus Kendrick. Starting off, I can see the hate in both of your eyes, but the third eye's blind. So you search lines. Both of your eyes, I feel like this is kind of like he could see the hate in Kendrick's eyes and he could see the hate in Drake's eyes. Now, when he says your third eye is blind, I think there's two possible meanings. Either he's the third eye, it's the big three sets of eyes are being referenced. He's the third eye because he's like above them spiritually, which kind of ties into what I think the second meaning is, that he's saying Drake and Kendrick both don't have their third eye open, which again is kind of like a reference to spirituality. He's saying if they were truly about some of the messaging they touted, they wouldn't have instigated or been a part of the beef to begin with, which again, with the later lines, they instigate the fuckery because it's profitable, but singing stop the violence tunes when dudes in the hospital. He might be alluding to some false prophetry here, but also, I think it's important to note that this could, at least this bar that I just said about the stop the violence, could just be a reference in general to a lot of rappers. For example, people who come to mind, trap artists like 21 Savage and Lil Durk, who as people over the last 5 years, outside of music, in interviews, on their Instagrams, right, they promote peace and they promote stopping violence, ending gang wars and all that stuff, which is an amazing thing to promote. I'm all for that. The less senseless death in this country, the better. But in their music, they continually, to this day, rap about participating in those activities and actively glorify them. Now, I don't think Cole's really taking shots at anyone with this bar, right? Because as we see later on in the track, he indicates that he's friends with Drake and with Kendrick Lamar. He is close collaborators and friends with 21 Savage and Lil Durk. Both at least have a song together. Durk is mentioned earlier in this verse when he says, like, Durk, I'm smirking at guys trying to besmirch mine. So it's very safe to assume he's not dissing right here. He's just kind of giving his perspective about, again, maybe he's not speaking about physical violence in general, assuming if we go back to the Eyes bar, which clearly references Drake and Kendrick Lamar, maybe he's talking about it in a metaphorical type of way, right? How maybe he's you know what I mean? Here's another route with it that I'm going to take. Maybe in these bars, he's critiquing Kendrick. Because Kendrick, Let the Party Die, Watch the Party Die. That track was kind of a epilogue where he was kind of regrettable about the beef and how he went about it. So maybe he's saying that Kendrick himself is saying, hey, Kendrick instigated because it was profitable. Now Drake's career, Drake personally, is suffering from this. But Kendrick's over here saying, stop the violence. And this is, again, in a completely metaphorical sense. If that's even what it's about. It could just be bars. It could, at the end of the day, just be bars. There's a lot to look into with this song. I pulled the plug because I've seen where that was about to go. They wanted blood, they wanted clicks to make their pockets grow. They see this fire in my pen and think I'm dodging smoke. I wouldn't have lost a battle, dog. I would have lost a bro. Now, again, we're talking about Drake Kendrick Lamar beef here. And I think it's very interesting how much J. Cole insinuates that this is about profit. Because obviously there was a huge profit for both artists from this, right? Especially for Kendrick Lamar. Not like Us is his most successful song ever. I don't know. I think it's kind of interesting that Cole's kind of taken this route on this song, kind of calling Drake and Kendrick out for doing this, essentially calling them out for doing this for the clicks. I don't know. I don't think that's what it was about from Kendrick. That would have to imply that all this other righteous stuff that he's been on is a facade. I think clicks might have been part of the incentive. There's always going to be an incentive for money when you're battling with the biggest rapper. And even if it was for clicks, I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. Rapping is their job. If you're J. Cole, this could have been a great business opportunity to insert yourself into the beef. So I get where he's coming from. I get what he's saying. And I think the reason he's saying it is because he is friends with both. As he implies, he wouldn't have lost the battle, but he would have lost a friend. And it's more important to him to have these friends in his immediate life than to be crowned the winner by a bunch of people he'll never meet and doesn't know online, which again, he touches on that later. I don't think he's necessarily shaming or saying Drake or Kendrick is wrong for engaging in it for the clicks. I think he's just saying from his perspective that it wasn't worth it, that he saw that they wanted blood and they wanted to profit, and that for him, he'd rather maintain his friendship. But I think it's safe to say that Kendrick Lamar and Drake were not friends prior to this. I think it's very safe to say that there's been subliminals going back and forth. I think there's been a lot of discontent from Kendrick towards Drake and vice versa. Again, that's why he says they wanted blood. Cole didn't want blood with this. He's friends with both, as he implies. I would have gained a foe and all for what? Just to attain some mo? Props from strangers that don't got a clue what I've been aiming for. Since the age of 14, Jermaine is no king. If that means I gotta dig up dirt and pay the whole team of algorithm bot people just to sway the whole thing on social media competing for your favorable means. Here is Cole touching on what I said before about him not wanting to risk his real life relationships, real life friendships, just to impress people online, which is a completely fair place to come from. Completely respectable. And I get what he's saying with this totally. And again, this is him contextualizing why he didn't do it. And it makes total sense as someone who has a working relationship with both artists involved in the beef and something that to them was super personal. It makes sense that he didn't get involved at this point. And I think, again, it's important we all say, I'm sorry to J. Cole, because we all kind of ousted him, said that he was moving some type of way for doing it. You got to respect someone who values their friendships, who values their relationships. The loyalty is strong and runs deep, and we can see that. To be considered best or live and rest the weight of both things, I understand the thirst of being first that made them both swing. Protecting legacy, so lines got crossed, perhaps regrettably. My friends went to war, and I walked away with all they blood on me. I feel like this is kind of like the pinnacle, like climactical line that Cole's going for here, right? This is probably the most important stuff, where he's talking about having to weigh out in his mind when it came down to it, if he wanted to be the best or if he wanted to maintain peace within his life and stay true to the person that he wants to be. He said he understands why they went at it. He understands wanting to be the best. He understands being so hungry, so tenacious, wanting to be the best, wanting to maintain having such a highly touted legacy. Because of course, Kendrick Lamar and Drake are both massively respected artists with great legacies, regardless of what you think about either of them, right? And he's saying he understands what happened and why they did that. But in retrospect, some lines got across, maybe regrettably, and I'm sure that applies to both sides, right? As we've heard, allegedly, there was a Kendrick and Drake agreed beforehand they weren't going to get involved with familial stuff and whatever, and then Drake had a bar about Whitney on push-ups, and it kind of instigated the whole thing. Euphoria didn't really have any familial references, but Kendrick did say, don't get the family involved. And then Drake continued to talk about Whitney, Dave Free, all that stuff, and it kind of sprawled out of hand. And Kendrick even said that in Watch the Party Die, right? That was kind of like a somber celebration. And most importantly, Cole says, my friends went to war. I walked away with all their blood on me. Because that was what was important to him, maintaining these relationships. And I imagine he did, right? I imagine he did. But since he did kind of swing and then take it back, he was mentioned throughout the beef. He was always a talking point about it. This is some powerful lyricism on this track. Now some will discredit me, try wipe away my pedigree, but please find a guy out that's rapping this incredibly, And to be honest, Cole's rapping on this song is incredible. He's kind of saying now, everyone who was out talking shit about me, saying that I was this and I was that for removing myself from that situation, find someone better than me. My dog texted me, I'll share you the words he said to me. If you refuse to shoot the gun, don't mean the gun ain't deadly. I guess in that metaphor, hypothetically, the gun is me. I text him back like, guess a gun ain't what I'm trying to be, my guy. They stripped me of my spot and now I'm finally free. I guess this is Cole kind of referencing the pressure that was on him to respond, but also saying that his friend kind of gassed him up, being like, just because you didn't respond or you revoked your full response or whatever, right? That doesn't mean that the gun isn't deadly, that the gun isn't powerful. So Cole's showing that he's got the reaffirmation in his life, that he is a top dog in the rap game. I really like his rapping during this part because he's essentially saying sentences. The rhythm he brings to it, how dynamic it is so great. It doesn't come off clunky at all and it rolls right off the tongue, to be honest. A lot better than when I said it. I enjoyed that. They say I'm picking sides, A don't lie on me. They say, then start another war, A Drake will always be my guy. I ain't ashamed to say you did a lot for me, my man. Fuck all the narratives. Real quick question for the audience. Any of you guys watching, when it comes to reading lyrics and rappers saying the N-word, should I just say like my, or should I continue to say like guy or whatever? Just throw another word in there. Which do you think is more appropriate? Because personally, I don't know. What do you think is the most appropriate thing to do? I don't want to say anything that could come off wrong or insensitive. You know what I mean? What do you think is the best way to address that? Anyways, he finishes this stanza saying, I ain't ashamed to say you did a lot for me. Fuck all the narratives. This is important because this is J. Cole still embracing Drake. I really like this. I think this is really important because there is a lot of negativity around Drake right now. But he's still saying, despite all that, I can't not acknowledge everything you've done for me in my career. You're still my friend. You're still an important person in my life. And you've done a lot for me. And Kendrick Lamar, Drake has done a lot for him too. Let's be honest. Drake has done a lot for a lot of people. And now a lot of people are switching up on him. So it's important that he's coming out and saying this. Because just in general, in your life, as a good person, if you have a falling out with someone, and I'm not saying Drake and J. Cole fell out, but in a general sense, even if you're not on the best terms with someone, you should acknowledge if they left a positive impact on your life, if they did important stuff to help you out in your life, your career, your friendship, your relationship, or anything else important. That's important stuff to acknowledge, even if you're not on the best terms with someone. Tapping back into your magic pen is what's imperative, reminding these folks why we do it. It's not for beefing, it's for speaking our thoughts, pushing ourselves, reaching the charts, reaching your minds, deep in your heart, screaming to find, emotions to touch, something inside to open you up, help you cope with the rough times and shit. I'm sending love because we ain't promised that shit. Oh, this is a powerful way for Cole to close it. He's kind of telling Drake like, hey, lock back in, my guy. We all know Drake does have that pen. Scary Hours 3, Drake is barred up at points. When he raps with Cole, he's barred up at points. We know Drake does have that magic pen when he wants to. He's saying, hey, instead of trying to go for round 2 with Kendrick, instead of trying to shift in a completely different lane or different space, like, no, you should bar the fuck back up and show everyone you still got it. Because that's what a lot of the narrative was going into this beef, is that Drake is a cooked rapper and he can't rap that well anymore. And that's still the narrative coming out of it, to be honest. Push-Ups and Family Matters didn't have the most incredible lyricism. They had good disses at points, but it wasn't always the best rapping performances, best writing performances. He's saying, Drake, remind him that you still deserve to be respected as one of the top dogs. And again, you love to see that. He's being encouraging. He's kind of big broing Drake, but not in a disrespectful kind of way, just being like, hey, bro, you still got it. You know what I mean? You just got to come through. Yeah, he kind of reiterates that the purpose of music is for artists to share their thoughts and push themselves to be the best, not to argue and beef, which again is important because with rap being kind of a not very poppin' genre in 2024, and the beef being the kind of the highlight of commercial success other than We Don't Trust You by Future, which was evidently linked to the beef anyway, that rap isn't all about beef. He's saying he's sending Drake love because that shit isn't promised. It's an important thing, just in a general sense, right? In a general sense, because love isn't promised to anyone in life. And Cole's acknowledging that here and saying, hey, I know you're going through a tough time. I know you got a lot of hate around you right now. And even if me and you might not be on the best terms, and that's speculation. I don't know what their terms are at all, right? I don't know what their terms are at all. But he's saying, I'm still there for you. And that's just an important thing to do for people in your life in a general sense. But yeah, that's Port Antonio. That was definitely a longer one. I love this song, though. Let me know how you're feeling the song, what you think of this song. What are its implications in the greater Kendrick, J. Cole, Drake narrative? In the comments below, please tell me. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, all that stuff. Go over to the Instagram, talking.hiphop. That's a follow. Go over to Spotify and follow the Talking Hip Hop Show. New episodes every Wednesday at noon. Go watch my Watch the Party Die breakdown. Go watch some other shit. But yeah, I appreciate all you guys tuning in. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're healthy. I hope you're enjoying the fall weather so far as well. Hey, but I will see you guys next time. Doses.